Yeah, look, so this is part of my charity, the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute charity. We're launching a campaign today because so many people are forced to share their PINs and they're leaving themselves open to fraud. So 1 in 5 people with mental health problems are sharing their PIN number, which means they're shedding the cloak of normal financial protections in desperation and are potentially losing money and victims to financial abuse, and 2 in 5 people want help. Now, so what's this all about? What's the solution? Well, we went through and looked at what the main street banks offer and why people are doing this. And there are 3 main things that you want if you've got a mental health problem to be able to have access to. The first is a carer's card, where you can give someone limited access to go and spend on your account with controls on it. Only 7 in 18 mainstream banks offer that. The next is third-party notifications. So an example of this, and we had an amazing case study on this from our lived experience panel, who had severe bipolar to the extent that she'd been hospitalised due to it and had manic spending sprees. And she gave someone her PIN because she was so worried about it. But actually what she wanted was to have a trusted friend or family member who she could nominate to get notifications if she had unusual spending patterns on her account. You know how you get them when you go abroad and it says, we think you're abroad. So they have the tech to do it, but just notifications so that a family member could come and say, hey, is everything okay? 3 in 18 major banks offer that only. Wow. And then the final one, which is partial access, third-party access, where people might be able to set spending limits or limit your spending on certain amounts. Again, only 1 in 18 do this. Now, what we have to remember is many people who have mental health conditions which are transitory when they are well, they want to protect themselves from themselves when they're ill. People want to be responsible for their own money, but if you're struggling with mental health issues, they know there are times they can't be responsible. So the responsible thing for them to do at those times is to get a trusted family member or friend to help. But the systems aren't in place allowing them to do it legally, so they do it illegally. And if you do it illegally, i.e. you give someone your PIN number, it's not illegal, you're not breaking the law, sure, but you're breaking the terms and conditions, you're no longer protected by all the usual rules of finance. So we're trying to square the circle. And what we're asking today, and the good news is we've spoken to some banks and they're warm, and we've spoken to the government and they're warm before launching the campaign today, is that we want a voluntary agreement between the government and the banks that says, as bare minimum standards, all major banking providers should offer carers cards, third-party account notifications, third-party payment controls. And there is precedent for these voluntary agreements. One was done with basic bank accounts before.
Why wouldn't they?
Because they haven't.
That's it. So it is. So there's no particular reason for resistance except that we've never needed to do it before, and it will cost a few quid to send out the literature or something.
You know how the system works, James.
Not as well as you, Martin.
Well, no. I was going to say that the difference between us, we're both journalists, but I do campaigning work and go in and meet people. You would be amazed that some of the most difficult things to get done are the one that everybody agrees with, because everybody else thinks it's somebody else's job. Financial education in schools was like that. 96% support, so everyone thought, yeah, it should happen. And I was banging my head going, yeah, it should happen, but it's not happening. Gosh. And still, even now, we first did that in 2014, even now, I've just met I've met a few months ago, the person doing the curriculum review. We're hoping to get it on the compulsory part of the curriculum. Everybody, or almost everybody, agrees with it. Makes it tough. This is a no-brainer. So everyone's going, yes, but we don't do it for these reasons. And so it's all about, you're sort of having to coerce people into doing something everybody agrees with, because it's so obvious that they should be doing it, that bizarrely that means nobody gets the oomph to ever go and do it.
So how
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes absolutely perfect sense. When you say it out loud, I would never have worked it out for myself. But how do you mobilise the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute army then? Who can bring and how do we bring pressure to bear?
I come on programmes like yours and I talk about it to widen it. And if I may say that anybody out there who has money and mental health problems, or maybe their partner has, we have an amazing lived research community of 5,000 people, and all our policies go through them before. So I have these brilliantly clever policy wonk people who work for the charity. We're about 20 full-time staff, some great economists. They come up with clever policies, but sometimes clever people coming up with clever policies aren't grounded in reality. So everything has to go through our 5,000 panel lived experience group first. We specially under-index young men under 35 from ethnic minorities. We under-index on you. If you're listening, you've got money and mental health problems, please go to the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute website and join our advisory panel. So we mobilise that. I go in and meet ministers. The team do lots of amazing, detailed, proper 40-page long policy papers on how we do this. And we start to coalesce opinion so that we make it socially unacceptable for banks and lenders not to do this.
And finally, Martin, to clarify, you've expressed the importance of helping people to help themselves or to protect themselves from the ill version of themselves.
Yes.
What about the more traditional abuses when it is somebody else taking advantage of this system? You have stories, I think, about people who've been robbed blind effectively without the protections that you would normally have.
Yeah, I had someone, this is a quote from a member of our panel who wants to remain anonymous, and of course we'll respect that. I was mentally unwell, had someone I thought I trusted trying to help. Instead, I was coerced into giving them thousands of pounds thinking they were helping me. Now, let's be blunt. We are not going to stop that in its entirety. You can't stop financial abuse. You can't stop trusted loved ones. But if you're doing it outside of the rules of the financial sector so that you have therefore done something that breaches their rules, such as giving somebody else your PIN so that they can go and spend on your card in a way that is not allowed, you have far less protections and recourse than if they're doing it on a carer's card where you set up pre-notifications and it has to be done and there are rules and regulations. So this is all about, it's never going to stop someone you love breaching the rules and trusting you. Thankfully, it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. But what it will do, it means there are more protections and guidelines in place to try and help people. And also, you're able to go on. You just think about it. In that case, you could say, I don't want this person to be able to spend more than £100 a week. And you go on your carer's card, you put that in, and that's what they can spend. But if you give them your card, they can spend what they like. It's those friction-based policy changes that we would like.
Brilliant stuff. I think the phrase national treasure is appearing in my inbox considerably more often than it ever usually does, Martin, and I second that. Moneyandmentalhealth.org if people want to find out more about this or indeed avail themselves of the help that your charity offers.
I'm not sure that's technically right. Let me just double check.
Go on then.
I think that's another organisation that does to consumer, and we're policy. Just checking my computer.
This is live radio, ladies and gentlemen.
Live radio.
To confirm.
I'm wrong. I say that with pride. I'm delighted to be wrong. Moneyandmentalhealth.org is our website. I'm only the founder and chair. How am I expected to know?
On that bombshell.